Mark Milbourn, Komori America.
Yes, sir.
Such a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about what Komori is today, because I mean, I think most people take you as you're just an iron maker, but you're way more than that, right?
We are, as a matter of fact, our core business is offset, lithography, offset presses, whether it be.
But isn't that iron?
Yeah, it is iron. Now, whether that be on the sheet fed side or the web offset, or even currency for that matter. So that's kind of been our bread and butter. That's what we hang our hat on. And the technology has gotten to a point where I don't know how much further we can take it. So I think the decision was made probably back in 2011 to enter the digital world, which is very new to us. But it's been an experience, but it's been great.
But it's funny because I mean, as I said to you before the camera was rolling, I said that I really love Komori, and I really love the approach that you have, also with being at least curious on new technologies. Because from outside, I don't know how you're doing. But my question is more like, if you look at most of the printing companies today who are using digital, I think for most they're just replacing small run what they used to use on old offset litho equipment.
Yeah.
So when you talk about going into digital, are you also talking about, as a company, going full-fledged into the understanding of all the new applications and how to utilize digital?
A lot of it's application-based, depending upon what you're doing. I think if you buy a digital piece of equipment today, to do static work, it's not typically, you're not getting your full return on investment if you're not doing some kind of variable content. All digital presses can do variable content. Depending upon the run length, sometimes you can get away with doing static, but it really is the right niche product that you're producing. That really depends on what digital product you enter into. So now we have sheet-fed, cut sheet UV inkjet presses, and then we have water-based inkjet presses in the 40-inch market as well. So, but it's not offset replacement in some cases, but it's certainly complementing the offset world.
Yeah, because I mean, regardless whether you have variable data or you have short print run, I guess that they complement, because when you have, let's say that you have different formats of litho machines, you say litho or litho or?
Litho.
Litho,
yeah.
Okay. So when you have different formats of litho machines and you have digital that complement, you can use the digital, of course, for short runs as well. And you can use that for even whatever length, print length you have on variable data. But with Komori's offering, you have like the entire range. I mean, you can go all the way to huge web offset machine. Right?
Yeah, we don't have the quarter size digital. We started off with the 23 by 29 inch format, so 6 up.
Is that what's called a B2 format?
Correct. Yeah. So that's our IS-29. That's the UV based cut sheet inkjet press.
That's still fairly new, isn't it?
We introduced it. It came to market in 2016 at Drupa.
Okay, so that's not that new, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how is it going with that machine?
It's going very well.
Okay.
We're finding different applications for it. Honestly, we didn't know what niche it was going to fulfill, whether it was going to be general commercial, packaging. We found that it fulfills both of those, but also it's geared towards the POP market as well. Oh. So, yeah, because, I mean, with UV-based inkjet, you're curing it with an LED lamp. So we say substrate freedom. You can print on a lot of different plastics, a lot of different styles. Not all plastics. Some you still have to pre-coat, but the majority, we've done plenty of testing that it's been a great product for us so far.
Is that fully developed machine from yourself, or is it an OEM? Or
we partnered with Konica Minolta on that. So basically, it's our expertise with paper handling.
So it's a kind of KM1 on with the Komori?
It's the identical machine.
It's an identical machine.
Yeah.
And I think that when I spoke to Komori last year, I think that you got in America, you got like FDA approval for that UV machine for food?
For food grade.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess that gives you another market opportunity compared to many of the others in the market, right?
So that's just a different sector within the packaging market that you can certainly utilize that technology.
Yeah. And then you mentioned that you have like inkjet water-based or inkjet machine as well? Or?
Yes, so we partnered with Benny Landa.
Okay, so that is the Landa machine?
Correct, yeah. So the nano
is that
technology.
On the market now, or?
Landa has had theirs out for a little while, their beta tests. We are a little more conservative in nature.
So you deliver the hardware for it, and then
we do,
Yeah.
and then they place their machines into beta. But as conservative as Komori is, we're not going to put a product to market unless we know that it's 100% right. It's going to work for our customers and it's going to make them money. So we're putting on our first beta in Japan as we speak.
Really?
I think the press release went out today.
Okay,
but
that's
it's
cool.
delivering I think next week to a company in Japan.
Okay.
So
Well, as you said, Komori is a conservative company in all the most positive senses. I'd take that. But I was just curious because when you look at as you said, also the value proposition of Komori is you want to bring something to market that is really tested at 100%. So if you look at Komori and having partnerships with both Konica Minolta and now also Lander, why should a customer buy from Komori instead of buying from Komori or buy from Lander?
well, we feel like our technology and our brand, Komori is.
So there's different technology inside it as well?
Oh yes.
Okay,
yes.
so it's not just a branding thing. It is a different machine.
It is a different machine. Well, it's not litho per se, right? You on the UV inkjet press, the 23 by 29, the IS-29, it is direct to substrate. So you are inkjetting right onto the substrate. That is the UV-based inkjet. The water-based inkjet, which is the nanotechnology, it actually is kind of a hybrid model. So you're actually
You have it on a blanket, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So you're actually inkjetting onto a heated blanket, and then it's transferring it's offsetting onto the actual substrate itself. So it's kind of a dual process, right? But the magic is getting that moisture out. That's the hard thing with water-based inkjet. So,
and that is that like a core competence of what your engineers have been participating in that
yes,
process?
yes.
Or yeah, okay.
We've, we didn't think the quality was to the level that we wanted it to be. So we're actually doing a lot of R&D. And thankfully, Komori Corporation is financially very stable. So we're able to put those R&D dollars into it to make it perfect. So.
And I think that the hype about nanography and Lander that gives you also some market advantages,
Sure,
I guess, right?
sure.
So when you go to market here, you have at least some advantages of having something that people don't know and have a lot of expectations for.
Yeah.
So you're working VP sales, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That was very official. Okay.
I do. I'm from the South originally. That's what I do.
So you are the sir kind of time. Okay. I had to learn that, I think.
Respect.
Respect.
Yes.
I have respect for you, even though I didn't sir you. So sorry. But VP sales, I take that it's quite a high responsibility because you must be an important asset in an organization like Komori because everything, whatever they can bang and whatever research and development, it always comes down to sales.
Yeah.
The market for, I don't know how it is actually in America, but I think that from a global perspective, it seems that the litho market has been decreasing over the past 10 years. I guess you have experienced some decrease.
We have. We've gotten to a point where we were selling, over 100 presses a year.
I thought it was a day. Okay.
Yeah. It's a challenge for offset. But what we're seeing is the people that have 3 or 4 presses that are antiquated, that need to be replaced, the new technology with all the software, because a lot of it's software these days, the make-ready tools with the software, you're able to replace 3 or 4 presses with one, and it still gives you capacity. So there's a tremendous opportunity.
Is that because of setup time and
because
I remember I saw a new Komori machine, 8-color machine, again in Norway, as I told you about, and they had these little micro dots.
Yeah.
And when you do, it was like 7, 8, 9 sheets, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, if you do an ROI on something like that, so you're replacing 3 presses with one brand new, fully automated press, it's a pretty compelling reason to go that route to replace. And the fact that it gives you a capacity to take on more work, but you're doing it efficiently. So the ROI really proves itself out.
Is that like the KPI when you and your staff goes to the market now? Is it basically that you can become more efficient by having newer generations of machines? Is that the main KPI
yes,
now? Or?
Yes, and I think that's not only true in the graphic arts industry, but in other industries as well. Yeah.
And where does that go? I mean, will that lead to like in 5 years' time you will go with, if you can have a half a machine, then it will be better than one machine?
Well, where it's going is, as you may know, as many people know, the labor market is very difficult. not only with us as a manufacturer, but also with our customers. So finding the right people, qualified people, and having them understand offset lithography is a challenge. So I think what you're going to see, and I think we're going to showcase some of this at Drupa in 2020, is not completely autonomous printing, but you're going to see less operators, and you're going to see the press print by itself in some cases.
So that means that the next step of getting automation to the next level is that actually manufacturing is so. I mean, I think that a lot of people in the pre-press industry has been focusing on automation of everything from files till plates at least, right?
Yeah.
So now you're saying that the next steps comes into maybe robots or fully automated machines, or that could be some of the things in the future you think?
I don't know how long it's going to take to get to that point,
no.
but
of course it must go that way.
Yes,
right?
yeah. In offset, it's a little more difficult. Because I remember years back where we were doing direct imaging plates on press.
Oh yeah.
So
who don't remember that?
Yeah. So that's still something that you're going to need a human being to take off plates and put plates back on the press. You know, inking gets put in there automatically, but someone still has to problem solve. If you have a printing related problem, you still have to pull a sheet and decide what to do with it. So that's where the autonomous doesn't really fit in. But I think a lot of the functions of the press are becoming autonomous, so that pressman doesn't have to worry about some of the ongoing problems.
So when you go to market with that strategy, is that well received?
It is. It's a tougher sell than you think, though.
I think still it sometimes can be difficult to get financing, right?
Well, with financing a press, you know, for a while there, after the Great Recession in 2009, 2008, 9, 10, it became very difficult. But it's eased up a little bit.
Okay, so it's not that tough anymore?
You know, I mean, but you still have to have strong credit. We're not lending to just anyone anymore.
No. Are you financing yourself, or?
No, we have third-party vendors that we partner with,
yeah.
and there's probably 3 or 4 that we deal with. So
So you say that the selling cycle is longer. It takes longer time to convince people to that investment, because I think that, you know, when I used to work in a printing company, every time that any vendor came in and said that you can replace 2 machines with 1 or whatever, I think that the concern I remember my bosses spoke about at that time was the flexibility of having 2 machines, and because, you know, if you have 2 jobs at the same time, maybe this is faster, but if the customer wants them at the same time, you can't do that on 1 machine, right?
Yeah, that's true. But I think to answer your question about if you have full automation and you're replacing 2 machines with 1, it's going to give you greater capacity because you're replacing antiquated equipment. When it comes to reliability of the presses,
way higher, right?
Way much higher. So if you're down, you're probably not completely down. And in most cases, you can get on in TeamViewer into the press to find out what's going on. And it's a problem they can fix on their own.
So when you say TeamViewer, does that mean that your presses, like digital presses today, also have remote
access? Yeah, remote access.
So I mean, I just remember that, you know, let's say 10 years ago when you saw digital press, part of the promise was actually to have remote service and things like that, and that was like something the offset guys were like, we don't offer, we have people here, right? And what you're saying is basically that gap between digital and litho has kind of diminished, right? Or
very much so. Very much so. I mean, you it's not like you're going to be able to run a press remotely, but from a diagnostic standpoint, you can certainly do that on both litho and on the digital equipment.
It's difficult. No, it's not difficult, but it takes time to sell the machines because what is the obstacles? Why are people? I mean, if it makes, to me, it sounds like it makes sense that you have 3 old machines and you can replace it with 1 newer that even gives you more capacity. Better economy. So what is the obstacles from the printing companies?
People are apprehensive to go into debt.
So that is because they want to secure their own future better, basically.
Very much so.
On the short term, at least.
What we're seeing in some cases is there's a generational gap. So, or a father or a mother are selling the business to their son or their daughter, and in that case, they want to leave that business in better shape for the next generation. So they will invest. Right?
I was just about to say that needs investment.
Yes. But then there are some who are stubborn per se, where they...
we make the most money we can do now and then we close.
Well, we have no debt, but they fail to realize that their make-ready times and their waste is so high that if you actually do an ROI and you prove out to the point, and when we do an ROI, we do the ROI based on our customers' data,
Yeah.
not our data.
Wow.
So when we show them the ROI, and hopefully they believe it, but if they don't believe it, it's not our data, it's their data.
They should go to their auditor then, right?
They should.
Yeah.
They should go to their bank and have them do ROI.
They would give the money right away.
Yeah.
So, when you have litho machines, at least, I don't know, but I think that the depreciation time has often been like 8-10 years for a medium, large size offset machine, right?
Yep.
When you are entering a market where you have digital, I think that the depreciation times are way shorter than when on this one. Doesn't that also require a mental change within Komori to understand that the life cycle of a product is way different than a litho machine? Or?
It is, and that's something, we're from the iron, like you had mentioned before.
That was my starting point, right?
That is, I mean, that's what we know. We know analog offset technology. So we're good at that. So when we got into the digital, it was a learning curve, right? Yeah. So we really didn't know from a lifespan of a press, digital press, versus an offset press. Offset press can be 15, 20 years.
And they still work good.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you might not have the level of automation from one generation to the next, but you're still going to be able to produce very well and at a low cost. On the digital side, it's a little bit different because it changes so much. You have the toner-based world, where that changes often. I think people are changing out machines every 2 to 3 years. When it comes to inkjet, the inkjet head has gotten much more reliable, and people have done the R&D on it. So I think you're going to see inkjet presses last a lot longer than you would the toner base. But yet to be seen. We don't have the research behind it quite yet. So, but we're excited for our inkjet because we're currently doing 5 and 7 year terms on the machines. So in many cases, it's not, you're not going to have to replace the frame. You might have to replace the controller or parts of it, but you don't have to replace the entire press.
Yeah. So. And what about also another thing that I think some people at least believes when it comes to the litho guys is the software part of it, all the workflow automation, all the things that are under the helmet, right?
Yeah.
Are you Komori America? Do you have people that manage these kind of things? Do you have anything to offer there, or you work with partners, or?
So when it comes to the training of it, or the software?
I was more thinking of the software side, because if you sell digital presses, you have, both analog and digital presses, you have like a lot of workflow that needs to go into it. You have a lot of, if you want to make variable data, if you want to go from commercial print to packaging, there's a lot of software that goes into that flow, right?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, do you sell the full packages at Komori, or you partner with people, or how do you do
we
that?
partner with Konica Minolta on our UV inkjet press.
Yeah.
They actually...
I was thinking more the software around the machines, not on the actual machines.
Well, we have our Komori AI technology on the presses.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's integrated into the systems themselves.
But Heidelberg, they have, for example, the Prinect.
Yeah.
Do you have something like that? Or?
We are not really pre-press focused.
Okay.
We're primarily press focused.
Yeah. Okay,
So some manufacturers have pre-press, press, and post-press.
Yeah.
We are focused on press.
Okay.
That's what we know well.
Do you think that's also part of Komori's success, that you have stayed focused on?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. And we put our full R&D dollar development every year back into our lithography part of the business, because that's our strength.
Yeah. And I think there's too many people in this industry that tries to talk litho and offset down, but it's actually still accounting for a majority of all print in the world.
Yeah.
So I think it's more like finding the opportunities and convincing people that print has a prosperous future, right?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, print is alive. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. I think even offset, lithography, analog technology, it's getting bigger, better, faster. It's not going to go away anytime soon. And digital is creeping into it, but it might be eating away at it a little bit, but the page counts in offset are still way up there. Maybe average run length is coming down in a way, but the page count is up. So.
And saying that, is that still something that you believe that Komori can have a market share and make money in? Because if you're used to having a high page number, and you have business models that are worked around this, and then you come into something that is new in depreciation time and how long time they exist, and business models are different. Is Komori able to actually do both?
Yes.
Yeah. You are doing it, right?
We are doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
We are doing it. I think a lot of it has to do with the cost of print.
Yeah.
When you go to a customer and you do an ROI and you say, what's it going to cost me to print that page?
Yeah.
On this device, on this device, on this device.
Yeah.
And it's really up to them to put that back into their business model to see if it's going to work. And then they buy whatever device is going to handle the majority of the work for them.
So you think that Komori is up to doing both digital and analog when you look at all the things you just mentioned about that page run and your depreciation times? Do you think that Komori is still up to the game for that?
Absolutely. We're in it for the long haul. We're very financially stable, and I think you're going to see some new and exciting things come from Komori.
Thank you very much, Mike.
You bet more. Yeah, thanks.